During the demo, we talked about starting with big basic shapes. So I started with my body, which was the big shape, and then I made the tail, and I showed you guys how to attach and how to hollow things out. So today I'm going to further that a little bit more. Hans, your phone away? Yeah. Thanks. So if you see the bottom in here, I've hollowed out the inside of it. Remember, you want to have it like the thickness of a pencil. If you're hollowing it and it's too soft, just let it sit for a little bit to let it harden up a little. This has been hard. This has been out since first period, so this has been out for 2 hours now, and it's getting pretty hard. So make sure that you're paying attention to like leaving your stuff out, because once it gets too hard, you can't come back from that. So you want to make sure that it's slightly hard, still a little soft that you can press into it, but not super soft so that it like just squishes under its own weight. I also ended up making the head and shaping it, and I changed it a little bit. I wanted to have like the face of like a mouse or something, and I added on the horns just so that I can continue, and I hollowed this out as well. So I did get the bigger loop tool that you guys should have in your bin. It's this one right here, and as far as hollowing goes, it's much easier than the tiny little one I had yesterday. You stick it in and you just turn it at the surface, and it starts to carve the clay away. You can feel it from the outside if you're getting too close. So the biggest thing that we want to talk about is scoring and slipping. Remember yesterday we did that. So I wanted to attach my head on here, but I need to put a hole from the body because this is hollow and my head is hollow. And if I just attach it without having that hole in there, it's gonna explode. Like wherever you have holes, the air needs to flow in and out. So you need to make sure that it's connected so the air, as it expands, it can come out as opposed to being in here. Having a sealed off air pocket is one way that your project will explode. So you want to make sure that you have a hole from the body that goes through into the head. And in order to do that, I'm going to, you guys have a feathering knife, which is like a long knife. I'm just going to use my needle tool, and I'm going to cut the circle. I attached this on here briefly just to press against the clay to see where it would attach so I know my hole isn't like in the way. And you want to get the clay out, so either have it come out this way, you can use your loop tool again, or you can use your knife to get it out, but you do want to get that out of there. So if it pushes through, hopefully your hole on the inside is big enough that it comes out the bottom. And I can tell right now that I've got a lot of extra clay up here, so I'm going to hollow out this part of the inside. It was hard to get to from the other side, so now I can hollow this out. And this clay that you're pulling out, you can ball it up and put it back in your bag and reuse it. So do that. All right, so yesterday we talked about scoring and slipping. I want to make sure my head covers that hole, and it does, so you won't see it. You want to use your rib to rough up the surface to score. If I just stick them together with doing nothing, it's going to fall right off. So I'm scoring it. I'm scratching up the surface. Same thing on this one. I'm going to score it. So I'm scraping it up. And then the slip, remember, you have your little slip container. You're going to take your little sponge and you're going to drip some water into there, like this much. So a little bit, not a lot. And then you're going to take your paintbrush and you're going to stir it around the pot so it picks up some clay and that makes slip. As you guys obviously noticed, if you did this yesterday, it dried overnight. So every day you just add more water to make some more slip. So you're just going to use it. You're going to brush it on. You're going to then attach it and press it gently. Like you don't want to press it so hard to break your project, but you're gently pressing it against it. So it shouldn't fall off on its own. It should stick. However, this when it dries, it will not stay together. Then what you're going to do is take some of your clay and make a coil. So like I said, you're making like a little scarf. You're going to coil your clay. It doesn't have to be a perfect coil. Like, it can be a little lumpy. That's okay too. And you're going to, because you can't blend the head into that, there's not enough clay there. So you're going to just make it like a scarf, and you're going to wrap it around the seam. You're going to press it down. So it literally looks like the thing's wearing a scarf. And then you're going to use your tools, and I'm just going to keep this clean. You can use this tool if you want to, when your wooden tools, or you can use, I like this tool. It's almost like a dentist tool that helps. You can blend it, if your finger is too big, to blend it from one side into the next. So you're going to blend it up, and you're also going to blend it down and push it in there too, like as you're blending it. So blend it up and into the body, into the head, and pressing it against the neck. So I'll go around doing that way. Like I said, if at any point you feel like your clay is just too soft and it's like not holding its shape, just let it sit out for a little bit, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and that'll make it harden. You don't want to leave things out for too long, again, because once they dry, it's really hard to work with. And you would take your time to blend this all together. I'll show you guys what this looks like. I'll continue working on this while you guys are working, and I'll show you what it looks like to be totally blended in. But your goal here is to have it be totally smooth so you can't even see that there was a seam. The other thing that I wanted to show you is little pieces like arms, wings. These are going to be little like horns. You make them and you set them aside. So these have been sitting for, again, almost an hour and a half, and they've definitely firmed up a lot. It would take a lot of effort for me to kind of like make them go back to regular, like a ball of clay. Same thing, so you're going to let them stiffen, let them sit for a little bit so they get hard. Again, not too long. You want to make sure you keep on checking these, especially in the beginning. But you're going to score and slip. Stick. And then, because they're harder, again, you're going to make a little coil of clay. And then you're going to attach it just like you did with the head. So make sure that you let things sit out a little bit, just like these. I did that with the horn too when I attached it. Texture. So once you guys are finished building the thing, you need to figure out what kind of texture you have on it, because it has to have some sort of texture. I'm going to show you how to do that today. There's different types of things that you can do with texture. You can go around your house or find things that have a texture that you want to imprint on your project. Like lace or burlap or anything that at home that is a texture, you can press it into the clay. You can also scratch texture into it, so you could draw on the clay, obviously, if you wanted to. However, by drawing, you see how it scrapes the surface, and you got crusties. That's what we call crusties. They're like little pieces of clay that come up. You just want to make sure you wipe them off later. So if you are going to use this as texture, do that. You can also use any of your tools together. And again, I did the same thing on my slip pot, and you guys all did texture on that, but I like using like the back end of tools so I can imprint texture here. You obviously want to do texture before it starts to harden, because once it hardens, you can't add more texture on there. So you can use different tools to kind of add texture. I could use the back end of my needle tool if I wanted to put texture on there. So you can use lots of different things to make texture on your gargoyle / monster / whatever. So after I make texture, you see these little pieces of clay, these clay bits where it looks a little unprofessional and it's a little rough. That's where you want to take your water and your paintbrush. And you can do this at any time as you work. If you have fingerprints that are getting on there that are bothering you, take your paintbrush with some water on it, and you're going to paint over it, kind of just to blend in any of the top surface. It helps to get rid of the crusty parts. It helps to get rid of any fingerprints. It helps to get rid of all kinds of things. It makes it nice and neat. And then yesterday we kind of touched on smooth is a texture. So you have this card that you have in your kit that you can use to scrape bits off. You can use this to make a flat texture. Just make sure you keep on taking the clay off of it that accumulates on it, because it's going to make marks if you don't. Or you can use the rib tool again where you scrape, scrape, scrape to get rid of any like bumps that stick up. Like it scrapes off the clay that's sticking up that doesn't match the rest of it. Then you're going to use the flat side to go over and smooth it out. At all times when you're working with your project, you want to always have it in your hand, like holding it gently, obviously. Like it's a baby bird, you don't want to squeeze it and kill it. So you want to hold it gently. And then just keep on working until you're happy with the entire product. So remember, it has to have an additive, at least one additive piece, which is anything that you add on, which legs, arms, something like that, tail. It has to have a spot that's subtractive, which means that you cut into it. So for mine, I'm just going to cut into my eyeballs. And that will be subtractive right there. So I'm subtracting from it, I'm taking away. And you need to make sure that they are hollow because it's a waste of clay and it will explode in the kiln. So make sure that you're using your loop tool and you're hollowing out as much as you possibly can. All right, do you guys have any questions as far as like basic hand building skills?